So now I'd like to talk to you a little bit about general field safety, specifically for our fish techniques class and for fish people, but also a little bit more general for just any kind of field ecologist. Rule number one in my class, don't kill yourself for a stupid fish, okay? I get excited when I start to see fish and I want to grab them and it's fun and I'm interested, but there's literally plenty of fish in the sea. There's plenty of fish in Kentucky Lake. If we don't get this one, if we don't get that fish, we'll get the next one. So always just stay calm, stay inside yourself, and don't do anything dumb just to get that fish. We'll get plenty of fish for our class. We'll be fine. We've talked a lot about different things on the boat. Some more specific tips on the boat. We're always wearing a life jacket. Now we have to have life jackets to be legal. We talked about that in an earlier lecture. But when we're working, we always have a life jacket on. That's it. Just take it easy and walk carefully around the boat. There's fish slime and maybe there's waves and it's pitching, especially if you're transitioning from the bow to the deck. You're stepping up onto the bow, you're stepping down. There's lots of equipment you can trip on. So be aware of your surroundings, go easy, walk carefully. Know where the first aid kit is. I'll show you. It's usually stowed underneath the seat just in case somebody gets cut or we need it. Know where the fire extinguishers are. For obvious reasons. Know how to drive the boat, so if something happens to whoever is driving the boat, you can get it back. Always carry a cell phone or marine radio. Most all of us have a cell phone in our pocket, but we have to be careful with that. Don't assume that your cell phone is going to be any good, because there are plenty of places out on Kentucky Lake or on a lot of these lakes that don't have cell phone coverage. And so a marine radio is usually a good idea, and we try to carry one if we have one. So just be aware that your cell phone might not be very useful everywhere on the lake. There's a lot of stuff, like I said, to trip on. There's nets and there's ropes and hooks and knives and all kinds of things. So just always be aware and go very easy. We're often cutting up fish, taking out otoliths, doing things like that, and you've got a sharp knife and you've got a slimy fish. So you want to be doubly careful. You don't want to be near anybody who's cutting on a fish. You want to be real careful so that your hand doesn't slip. You also want to watch out for the spines. It's very easy to get stuck by the spine of a fish when you're trying to handle it, and it's very easy to get infections in your hand. And that's probably, if I had to think, might be the most likely thing to happen safety-wise in any of my classes. And so we're always very careful, doubly careful about washing our hands. We've got antibiotic ointment that we always take with us. So we really want to be careful about not getting any kind of infection in the hand and getting any kind of a cut. Okay, some other things I'd like to point out. There's no such thing as near drowning. There's this term, I nearly drowned. There's no such thing. If you get water in your lungs, it damages them, okay? You've got a surfactant on the inside of your alveoli that helps with the gas exchange. And if you go under and you get a lung full of water, even if you cough it all out, that surfactant goes out too. And so somebody who gets water in their lungs, coughs it out, and then they recover, I'm okay, and they seem to be fine, they're not fine. In a few hours, they will start to crash and you can get an infection. So anytime somebody goes in the water and gets a lung full of water, and if you do CPR, you get them back and they cough it all up, go to the emergency room. Okay, we're going to be doing electrofishing, and we need to talk about general electrofishing safety. Of course, when we're on the boat, we're going to go over all this again. Realize that as long as we are safe, electrofishing is safe. And if we don't do anything stupid, it's fine. And so we're going to continually stress this when we're out on the boat. But I'm going to give you some tips to get us started. First off, Never, never, never reach into the water, okay? As long as you're in the boat, you're like a bird on the wire. You're part of the circuit. The electricity has nowhere to go, so it's not going to go flow through you, and you're fine. As soon as you put your hand into the water, now that electricity can flow up your hand, across your heart, and get back to the boat that way, and that's trouble. So do not reach into the water. Keep, stressing this. If you see a fish and you want to grab it real quick, don't do it. If you get some slime in your hands and you want to reach over, just rinse them off, don't do it. Did I mention? Don't do it. Do not reach into the water. We always wear closed-toed shoes, no sandals, no bare feet. Again, this just help make it less likely for any kind of splash of water to carry the current through your foot. It's very unlikely. In fact, I don't even think it could ever happen, but we don't even mess with it. Closed-toed shoes always. The main safety mechanisms in our electrofishing boat are wood or fiberglass dip nets, and so we don't grab our fish with our hands, we grab it with a net, and the handle on that is wood or fiberglass, so it doesn't conduct electricity. There's a foot pedal on the bow, and so whoever's dipping fish on the bow has to step on that to turn on the electricity. And all you got to do is step off of that to turn off the electricity. So if that person falls in, the electricity shuts off before they hit the water. Or if there's something happening, all you got to do is step off and kill the whole field. The operator, the person in the back of the boat who's driving the boat, also has a master kill switch. So at any point, all the operator has to do is slap that switch and it shuts the whole thing down. Again, don't kill yourself for a stupid fish. Don't overextend and lean way over. If there's a fish over there, we'll move the boat to get it. If we don't get that fish, we'll get the next fish, all right? Pretend that you've got a force field or like one of those nets that goes around the trampoline, and you just don't break the force field. Just pick up what you can get. Don't overextend. If it's raining, we do not electrofish, okay? Just having that thin layer of water increases the risk enough to make it not worth it. So we just don't electrofish in the rain. The safety rail on the front is there for a reason. Reach over the rail. Sometimes people are shorter or they want to get to a fish and they reach through the rail. That defeats the purpose of a rail. Do not reach through it, reach over it. And so here, give you an example of some of the things I'm talking about. Here you see that they're picking up the fish only with the dip nets, not with their hand. Notice that they're reaching over the railing, not through it. One of them is stepping on the foot pedal. You need to step on that to turn on the juice. You step off, it turns off the juice. The operator also has a master kill switch in the back. You want to pay attention to other people on the boat. You've got these long dip nets, and when you turn around to dump your fish in the tank, you might whack the other person in the ear. So be aware of everyone else on the boat. Be especially careful when you're down off the bow. If you're in the rocking chair, if you're back in the back, you're a lot closer to the water. You don't have a safety rail. All right? And so it's a lot easier for you to get your hand in the water. It's a lot easier to fall out. So be doubly aware when you're in the back of the boat. All right, when we're electrofishing, we always have at least one person on the boat who knows CPR. The most likely injury or thing to occur during electrofishing is for somebody to get shocked and their heart to go into defibrillation. And so you need to perform CPR to keep the blood pumping, to keep that oxygen going to the brain. If you have an automatic defibrillator, that would be a nice thing to have, to shock that heart back into rhythm. Of course, CPR is pretty simple. Basically, you just want to keep compressing the chest and keep pushing on that heart. I think even now they recommend you don't even have to give the breath, so there's plenty of oxygen that gets moved around. The important thing is to keep that blood circulating through the body, keep that oxygen to the brain, and that's why you compress on the chest. And you're going for about 100 beats a minute. So you're going faster than 1 beat a second. You're really pumping hard, right in the center to keep that heart moving. But it's a good idea, to have a basic CPR course under your belt. And it's also would be a good idea to have a wilderness first aid course under your belt. I've been kind of looking at some of these, see if I can't maybe get one organized for all of us. But in general, if you're going to be an ecologist working out in the field, it's a good idea to have kind of an extensive first aid course, just in case something bad goes wrong. I want to, that's our first lecture in safety. When we go out into the field, I am going to talk about this more. I'm going to be paying attention. Part of your participation grade is safety. And so I want you to get to these good habits. And that's all I have. And so let me know if you got any questions. Thanks a lot.